Beruchim Abayim Rabotai, welcome to another edition of our Thursday night class. Tonight's shi'ur will be studied the Alun Ishmat Yardena Haya Bat Sarah Ruach Hashem Tanihena Began Eden Amen. I'd like to acknowledge all our affiliates that are watching tonight's shi'ur, whoever they may be. Hashem Alechem Yihyu Amen. If I may single out some of my friends in the dear community up north in Montreal that I understand are watching this shiur every Motzei Shabbat, and it is indeed a great privilege of mine to be with my friends in the Montreal area every Motzei Shabbat, so we can spend or usher in the new week with some Divrei Torah. So I want to compliment them, congratulate them, give them chizuk, and may they continue all their efforts in spreading Torah in their communities, and B'ezrat Hashem they will have continued success and Hatzlacha. Amen. Tonight we have a great mission to accomplish. Whenever we study these parashiyot, and we're trying to understand the stories of the Avotenu HaKedoshim, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. So we must approach these stories very carefully, very sensitively, almost like a surgeon that goes into surgery of the brain. Any mistake or any millimeter that the scalpel might be away from the proper incision, Has v'shalom, it can be a matter of life and death. With that same fear and trepidation and reverence, we come and talk about Avotenu HaKedoshim. We have to understand they were on a different level. It's hard for us to rise up, to define them, and to quantify them. But just to say nothing about them, of course, is not proper as well. Tonight we try to analyze responsibly one of the most difficult episodes and probably misunderstood episodes in the entire Torah. An episode that B'nai Neder I'm committed to relearn every year, as we've done in the past, because we're so far from the understanding. We need to re-ingrain in us the proper way to understand this episode. And there's much misconception, there's much gross misinterpretation on this subject, and therefore it needs to be reviewed and studied with the proper insights of Chazal. You know, there's vision and there's Torah vision. There's looking at things with our mundane eyes, and then there's putting on the Torah glasses. And through Torah vision, you're able to see it in a much different perspective. Torah vision means taking what Rashi has to say, what the Ramban has to say, what the Midrash has to say, what the Zohar has to say, and orchestrating it and putting it into a mix and homogenizing it together until you come out with a clear path and understanding Ma'aseh Avotenu. It's clear what we're talking about tonight, the story of Yaakov, quote unquote, stealing the blessings from his brother Esav. The reason why it's such a difficult subject to discuss, because Yaakov is referred to as Titen Emet LeYaakov. Yaakov Abinu's midah is emet. That's what he excelled in honesty and integrity and being truthful. Just as much as Abraham was Isha Chesed, like the pasuk says, Chesed LeAvraham. That was his midah. Avraham Avinu mastered the trait of Chesed. So much so, that was the trait of Yaakov Avinu Emet. And then you read an episode which depicts Yaakov in the exact opposite light. The story of Yaakov stealing the blessing seems to be the antithesis of Emet. Disguising himself as his brother, walking in, and his father asks him, "Who are you?" And he says, "Anuchi Esav bechorecha." I'm Esav, which is seemingly a blatant lie. Unacceptable to even somebody that's not considered the emet. the personification of emet. Kol sheken, kal va'omer, Yaakov Avinu. Isha emet, to be involved in what you might call trickery, what you might call misleading his father, impersonation, a lot of things over here that you wouldn't expect. So it needs to be understood. Now certainly we mustn't criticize Yaakov Abinu based on our Western values. We need a Torah-based analysis to understand this. So we begin. First of all, what are we discussing? What are these berachot? Let's just clarify that. What are we arguing about over here? That Esav wants a piece of the action, Yaakov wants a piece of the action. What are these berachot, these coveted berachot that we're talking about? So the Mefarshim dabble back and forth, and they basically come out with two conclusions. The berachot are the rights to Eretz Yisrael. The one that receives these blessings becomes the heir to the blessing of Avraham Abinu that was given by God to Avraham at Brit Betarim, that you're going to become the inhabitants, your descendants of the land of Israel, which is the beracha. And it's also rights to serve the divine service. Whether that means bringing korbanot, serving in the Bet HaMikdash, that line that gets the blessings gets to do the avodah. Now we know, because we know the end of the story, we know who Yaakov Abinu was, and we know who Esav was. We know who is deserving of the blessings and who is not deserving of the blessings. It's clear to us that Yaakov Abinu is depicted in the Torah as Ishtam. Ishtam means he's a man that personified perfection. Tam is perfection. Timimut. The Timimut also means he didn't know trickery. He doesn't know how to fool. He's not crafty. Ishtam, this is his way. He's a man that personifies the Timimut, while Esav is considered Ish Sadeh. Esav is the personification of a wild man, a hunter. A man that's living behefkerut, in a free lifestyle in the field with the animals. So it's clear to us that if there's a choice between who gets the blessings, it's got to be Yaakov Abinu. We all know that. As a matter of fact, everybody knows that, including a second grader in the yeshiva. There's only one person that doesn't know it, that's Yitzhak Abinu. To everybody else it's obvious. Ask anybody in the street. Ask a kid in the kindergarten. Yaakov and Esav. Oh, Yaakov. Ask Yitzhak, he's not sure. This is very strange. Yitzhak Avinu, who's Kodesh Kodashim, he's a living sacrifice. Yitzhak Avinu never leaves Eretz Yisrael because he has a deen of a korban. In his blindness he has X-ray vision. And he's blindsided in the story. It's strange. His wife sees it, but Yitzhak doesn't see it. What's going on? How's that possible? Now, if we just go answer one question at a time, methodically. Rivka tells Yaakov Avinu. I'm going to read you the Pesukim. We need to hear it inside. Rivka calls Yaakov Avinu, and he says, "V'Rivka amira Yaakov bena lemor, hine shamarti et abicha medaber el Esav achicha lemor." I heard your father's talking to your brother Esav, saying, "Havia li tzayid va'asili matamim ve'ochela, prepare for me the food. Va'abarechecha lifnei Hashem lifnei moti." I'm going to give you the blessing of God. Ve'ata beni shema bekoli. Listen, my son. La'asher ani mesaveh otach. Listen to what I'm telling you. Lech na el ason. Go to the flock. Ve'kach li mishar shnei gedei azim tovim. Go take 2 goats. Make matamim. Make the dishes like your father enjoys. Ve'veta la'avicha ba'avur asher yebarechecha lefnei moto, because you have to take the blessings. So this is Rivka's idea. You should know that, because Yaakov did not instigate this plan. It wasn't that Yaakov Abinu was plotting in the Beit HaMidrash, how am I going to create a ruse in order to sabotage Esav. He's receiving a commandment from his mother. So there's a kibud en factor over here. To keep that in mind. I know what you're going to ask me. So Yaakov kept the whole Torah, so he has to respect his mother. Yes. But does that mean you could disrespect your father? If your mother tells you something to do and your father tells you something to do, what's the halakha? I don't want to insult any of the mothers over here tonight. But the halakha says you listen to your father. Why? Because your mother also has to listen to your father. So therefore, it's 2 against 1. You have to listen to your father, and the missus has to listen to the father. So therefore, when he says something, you got to listen. So therefore, Yitzhak's intention is to bless Esav. That's clear. So Rivka comes along and says, no, I believe you should get the blessings. So based on the kibud and factor, Yaakov should tell his mother, listen, Ma, I love you, I respect you, Rivka Imenu, you wanted the Imaot, but I follow the Torah, and Emet, the rule of Emet, I can't. Especially, she's telling him to get involved in Sheker. Add that to the mix. It's not like she's just telling him, go buy the newspaper, and our father says, and the father says, don't buy the newspaper. Okay, that's Pav. It's not so Pav, it depends which newspaper it is actually. But the point is, she's telling him to do something, Be'isur. So what does Yaakov, why does he acquiesce? Why does he listen? So you have to know what the Zohar writes. The Zohar says on the Pasuk, V'Rivka shoma'at medaber Yitzhak el Esav beno. Rivka heard the conversation between Yitzhak and Esav, that Yitzhak wants to give him the blessings. Says the Zohar, Rivka was not there to hear this conversation. She heard it Beruach HaKodesh. But you shouldn't think, like you learned in 2nd grade, that she was eavesdropping. She had an ear by the door. With the cup. You used to do that when you were a kid. You put the cup on as you're listening to the conversation. She didn't plant the bug. It wasn't Watergate or any of these situations. So how did she hear? Ruach HaKodesh. God came to her in a divine communication and said, showtime. Something's about to come down over here. Which means she was tipped off by Borei Olam. The divine presence came down and tipped her off. You ask, wait, it doesn't say that, but Rabbi, but because you said, don't take my word. Al tomar kabilu dati. I don't say take my word. Open up the Zohar, and you'll see clearly the Zohar. Rabbi Shalom ben Yochai says this interpretation. We're bound by that interpretation. That's why I say, if you're not going to open up Sefarim to understand the story, and you don't know this point, you could become confused. That means, if I may say, and forgive me for the terminology, I'm just saying it so you have clarity. That means Borei Olam was an accomplice in this episode. Borei Olam already tipped off Rivka, so if you're going to start pointing fingers, hey, tricking, lying, God started the process. Meaning if Rivka doesn't know about the blessings, nothing happens here. So Borei Olam starts the issue by conveying the very important fact. But it doesn't answer our question. Why did he listen to his mother? So God tipped her off. So what? So you must know that Rivka received the prophecy 63 years before. When Rivka was pregnant with Yaakov and Esav, she was having a hard pregnancy. So she went to the rabbi. She went to Shem Ve'ever. Stam, you've seen the olden days. Today you have a problem in the pregnancy, so you go to the obstetrician. In the olden days they knew exactly where to go. You don't go to the obstetrician, you go to the rabbis, you go to the Bet Midrash. And sure enough, they gave us certain advice, and somehow it pacified her, it calmed her down. They told her, Shnei goyim b'bitnech, congratulations, you have twins. Yeah, the rabbis, you don't need a sonogram when you go to the rabbis. They tell you already you're having twins. And not only do they tell her they're having twins, but she'll tell you exactly the gender. It's 2 boys, by the way. You don't have to go, no mistakes of this. 2 boys. Shnei goyim b'bitnech, u'shnei le'umim mi'mehayich yiparedu. Going to become great nations. Ul'om el'om ye'ematz, going to fill the world. V'rav ya'avod sa'ir. These 3 words you have to highlight. And the older one is going to serve the younger one. Side point. How did that pacify her? She's coming along and she's having birth pains. And Shem B'Evet comes and says, don't worry, Rav Yavod Said. So the explanation I heard from the name of Rav Chaim Sonnenfeld, he says, her problem was they were fighting. Each one wanted to become the firstborn. So there was a lot of rivalry in the stomach. Each one's pushing to get out first, so she's feeling the pains. So they whisper in her ear, hey listen, the younger one's going to be the main guy. All of a sudden they stop pushing. Everybody wants to be the younger one now. Nobody wants to come out first. So therefore it pacified her. So the advice that was told to her worked. It stopped the labor pains. It stopped the problems. But she heard a prophecy from Yeshivat Shem B'Evet. I say it's a prophecy. The younger one is the primary child. She keeps that secret for 63 years. That's a very important secret. She knows already Yaakov is the one that's deserving of the blessings. Even if Yitzhak doesn't know it, Yitzhak didn't get the prophecy. She got the prophecy. Oh. We gotta go slow. So she has a prophecy. So she has information in her mind that already is confirmed through Nivu'ah. V'rav Ya'avod Sa'ir. Esav is going to serve Yaakov. So now she has a reason to orchestrate this charade. So she has a prophecy. But the question is, so she's allowed to tell Yaakov to make a Isur? What, this is a credit card, an easy pass? Once you have a prophecy, so that's it, you put the Torah on the side now, all bets are off, go lie, trick your father, steal blessings, I got a prophecy. So you have to know Rambam, what Rambam writes in the Ilchot Yesodei Torah. I'm going to ask you the question, I hope you get the question wrong. Because that's the normal thinking, you'd get the question wrong. A prophet comes down from Shamayim, a real prophet, Yeshaya Navi, comes, introduces himself, shows his license, Yeshaya Navi, it's the real thing, Yeshaya Navi. He says, listen, I'm telling you now, this piece of meat over here is a piece of taref, it's a piece of avdir, if you give me pork, 100% pork, taref deoraita. I'm telling you, you have to eat it now, in the name of God, Ne'um Hashem. Multiple choice question. Do you eat it? Or do you stone the prophet? Everybody's quiet. I'll give you the answer. You eat it. A prophet that comes along and says to go against a law from the Torah, you listen to him, Rambam says. Only when he comes along and abolishes a law from the Torah, then you don't listen. Which means if the prophet comes down and says, there's no more law of tarif, that's erased from the Torah, there's 612 mitzvot, then you take the prophet and you kill him. But if he comes along and says, we're making an exception, just today we want you to eat this tarif, Ne'um Hashem, in the name of God, you eat. And if you don't eat, you're in contempt of a prophet, you're guilty. I'll prove this to you. Yeah, you should be shocked at all these new concepts. If you don't know these concepts, then how could you navigate your way through this parasha? Again, we're going with Western values, according to what we used to understanding, according to our notions, that therefore we have problems. But I'm going to tell you what the Torah's vision is, so that it'll be clear. You know the story of Eliyahu Navi? Eliyahu Navi was at Mount Carmel. He had a whole debate over there with the Nevi'ah Baal, with the priests of Avodah Zarah on one side, and you had the Jews on the other side, and it was a big debate who's right. Is the Is God the God, or is it the Avodah Zarah is the right deity? So now Navi went and he built a Mizbeach, 2 Mizbeachs, and he brought sacrifices on both Mizbechot, and he said, whichever Mizbeach a fire will descend from heaven and consume the Qurban, that's the real God. So the priest started their sacrifice, and of course a fire did not descend from heaven. They don't have the real God. They know that their gods are fake. And then Eliyahu Rabbi said, okay, my turn. Aneni Hashem Aneni, a fire came down from the heaven, boom. It consumed the entire Qurban. Great story. And everybody saw the miracle of God. They said, Adonai wa Elohim, Adonai wa Elohim. They accepted upon themselves all Malchut Shamayim. It's a fantastic story. There's only one problem with the story. You're not allowed to build the Mizbeach when there's a Beit HaMikdash. Eliyahu Navi lived in the times of the first temple. There was a Beit HaMikdash. There's Isur Deoraita called the Isur of Bamot. Shchutei Chutz. How did Eliyahu Navi go on Mount Carmel, build the Mizbeach? It's all right. Eliyahu, you proved your point. You succeeded, but Isur Deoraita. Harambam answers, because Eliyahu Navi is a prophet, and a prophet temporarily is allowed to suspend a law from the Torah. Et la'asot la'Hashem eferu toratecha. So therefore Rivka now has a prophecy. She must see that prophecy through. Yitzhak doesn't have the prophecy. So you're going to ask me a question. Why should Rivka get the prophecy? Give the prophecy directly to Yitzhak. Why does it have to become so tricky over here? Cut out the middleman. Just go straight to Yitzhak Abinu. Granted, then we don't have a class tonight, and there's nothing to answer. Everything's simple. But that should be the normal way. We'll see. So therefore, Rivka, when she comes along and says, I'm telling you, my dear son, you have to lie, Yaakov has to listen. Number one, because she's coming from a prophecy. It's not from a mother. From a prophecy. As a matter of fact, Rav Hida makes this point when the Pasuk writes, Ve'ata beni shema bekoli, listen to me, my son, la'asher ani misave otach. He says the word ani in this Pasuk is referring to the ultimate ani. Who's the ultimate ani? Is God. Ani Hashem Elokechem. What Rivka was really saying, you can have a question, how could you listen to me? I'm going against your father. That's not me giving you this commandment. La asher ani misaveh otach. Listen to what the ani is commanding you. This is from God. This is a divine decree. And even though I'm asking you to do something against the halakha, it's in my capacity to do such a thing. Et la'asot la'Hashem eferu toratecha. So technically, Yaakov Abinu was getting a sanction here to lie. Just like Eliyahu Navi was sanctioned to build the Mizbeach on Al-Carmel. Just like the Navi can suspend the law of Taref. So here Rivka was suspending the law of being honest temporarily in order to see this through. Did God agree with this whole operation? Well, according to what I explained to you, he initiated the operation. He's the one that tipped off Rivka. The Rivka Shomat, according to the Zohar. Furthermore, when Esav is going out to hunt, it says he trapped a deer, whatever he was trapping, venison, or whatever he was getting for his father. And it says God dispatched an angel down from Shamayim, and as he trapped, the angel came and untied the trap. And it escaped, so he had to trap again. And the angel came again and untied the trap, so he was delayed. Why is he delayed? So Yaakov can come in and take the berachot. So God already is aiding and abetting. I don't use his terminologies over here. Furthermore, when Yaakov puts on the coat, that coat that had the hair, in order to feel like Esav, that wasn't any coat. That was actually the coat of Nimrod, which Esav inherited from Nimrod. And inherited, he actually fought him for the coat. It was a coveted coat. It really belonged to Adam Arishon. It was the coat that Adam wore in Gan Eden. This is it has a very big pedigree, this coat. It has a lot of yehus, the coat. So now he put on the coat, and all of a sudden, the coat smells like Gan Eden. The fragrance of Gan Eden comes back from the coat. Which means when Esav was wearing it, it smelled like what it's supposed to smell like a sheepskin coat or a Gedir Ezim. Leather coat has a bad smell to it. And all of a sudden he puts it on. Kereach sadeh, like the smell of sadeh tapuchin, like Gan Eden. That's already God's affirmation that what's taking place over here is legitimate. God would not activate the coat's Gan Eden properties if something was going wrong over here. I'm giving you these proofs because you have to know Da'man Hashiv. You have to have an answer. You go to a regular Amaris in the street and he has these questions, so you start to fumble and you start to stutter and I don't know. Rabbi Mansour has a tape on it. You don't have to go to that level. I want you to know how to answer yourself, how to explain these stories when the question is going to be posed to you. The biggest proof to me is, we're all saying, he fooled his father, hold it, let's see what his father said. Let's ask his father, let's ask Yitzhak. We're all speaking as if we're Yitzhak Avinu's lawyer. He was fooled, how did he do it? Let's go ask Yitzhak. Or you fooled. Well, after he finds out that he blessed Yaakov, very simple. Yitzhak should say, Mekach ta'ut. A false pretense. Baseball, sometimes you have what's called a do-over. Golf, they call it, you have a mulligan. So therefore you have a mulligan over here now, which means do-over, take two. That's it. You made a mistake here the first time. It was a false pretense. You came in, I didn't know who you were. It's no problem. There's no such thing, no backsies then. You take it back and we'll do it again. What does Yitzhak say? Oh, it worked out this way. Gam Baruch Yehiyeh. Confirmation. You're in. You're Baruch. What happened? How come why are we more upset than Yitzhak Avinu, by the way? You don't see Yitzhak saying, you tricked me, you fooled me, you went, you came out there, It's only, our generation's coming along. We're going to defend Yitzhak where he's not asking for a defense. He's fine with it. He's telling you, keep quiet. I know what happened over here. At the end of the day, I blessed Yaakov. Gam Baruch Yeh. The Berachah is confirmed. So don't be more pious than Yitzhak Avinu. He didn't chastise Yaakov. But if you really want the real proof that whatever took place over here had to be divine, what if I can prove to you that even Esav admitted that what took place was right? Now once you do that, so we pull the rug out of the whole story. Even Esav's going to say everything's okay, but he's screaming in the beginning, he came, he tricked me, he's a trickster, he stole my birthright for both of them, a lentil soup, now he's taking my blessings. He screamed a little, he got nervous, okay, he has claims, but at the end of the day, Esav says, Yaakov, you're right. You know when he said it? When Yaakov Abinu, in a few weeks from now, has that famous bout with the angel. They're wrestling, and they're going through that whole match. And at the end of the bout, Yaakov Abinu is victorious. Who's he fighting? Which angel is that? All of a sudden the angels became wrestlers. Since when did the angels become wrestlers? What is it, the WWF all of a sudden? What's happening over here with the wrestling match? So the Mefarshim say that this is the angel of Esav. Esav has an angel. That's for another class. What does it mean he has an angel? So he has an angel up there. It's the spiritual mechanism in the Shamayim that's guiding Esav, Edom, Rome. So the angel comes down. Now that's the essence of Esav, is his angel. And he's coming to kill Yaakov Abinu. He came to kill Yaakov Abinu. And at the end of the wrestling match, it is the angel that changes Yaakov Abinu's name. He says, you are no longer Yaakov, but your name is Yisrael. Yaakov is the word Vayakebeni. You went around, you tricked, you went this way, you didn't go straight. And that's what Yosef says. Yaakov. His name fits his nature. Yaakov, and he's a akban. He's a trickster. That's his name. The angel of Yosef comes along and says, your new name is Yisrael because you're Yashar. You did good. You're not a trickster. So what do you want? What more do you want? Which means the angel that night waved the white flag. You did good. The blessings belong to you. So we're going to come along now and say, how do you do it? Oh, Esav is already conceding. So what are you talking about? Which means the one that's the victim of this whole story is conceding at the end through his angel. Everything's fine. And we're coming along and saying, how do you do it? How do you do it? It's not right. Poor Esav. Oh, don't be more compassionate than the victim himself. He conceded defeat. Now that he conceded defeat, he tells Yaakov, you're Yashar, Yisrael, Yashar. You're straight. Why did it have to happen this way? Why does Isha Emet, why does Yaakov Ishtam have to be put in such a predicament? It's legal, he's allowed to lie, it's a prophecy, the rules, no problem, beautiful. But God could have orchestrated this in a million and one ways. Why this way? Why do we have to have a class on this to answer it up? Why does it seem such a shady episode? We have to, with the thumbs and start to... So Rav Gedalia Shor has a derech in this, which is very important that you should know. Alav Shalom, the Rosh Hashiva. He quotes the Midrash before Yaakov Avinu went into his father. He says, Hatzila nafshi mesifat sheker melashon remiyah. Please God, save me from lies, save me from deceit. It's a strange request. He's going in to trick his father and he's saying, save me from deceit. You're going into love, he's saving you from deceit. The Pasuk says in Tehillim, Lo ragal al leshono. He did not speak falsehood. Zeh Yaakov. And when is that Pasuk referring to Yaakov's honesty? It says when he went into his father, and he told Rivka before he went in, Ma, ulai yimusheni avi. Maybe my father's going to touch me. Maybe he's going to feel me. Oh, lo ragal al leshono. Honest man. What does that got to do with honesty? Maybe he's going to feel me. So you know what the explanation over here is? He says, Rabbi Gedalia Shur. He says like this. Amazing. You know where you see Yaakov's honesty? When you have a heter to lie, and you struggle doing it, that's when you see a person's emet. I'll explain it to you. Somebody came into me right now, prophet, Yirmiyah Navi walks in, tells me, there's a big box of Kentucky Fried Chicken from the Colonel himself. And he comes along and says, Ne'um Hashem, you can eat this. Wow. So, I would eat it so fast before he changes his mind. You walk by the place, you smell it, you say, whatever you want to say. Now you're getting your one shot, and it's legal. Not only that, but you lick your fingers. You don't want to get the full henna, the marrow, and the bone. You want to enjoy it. The Prophet said I can enjoy it. So that's us. But Yaakov Abinu now has a legal heter. You could lie, it's mutar, prophecy. Et la'asot l'Hashem. Rivka is telling him to do it. We have to make this happen. But as he's doing it, he can't do it. And I'll prove that he struggled doing it. Because the Gaon of Vilna says on the Pasuk, Ulai Yemusheni Avi. He tells Rivka, maybe he's going to feel me. I don't have hair. The Gaon says, anytime you see the word Ulai means maybe it's going to happen, and you want it to happen. Ulai is a language that's used. It might happen, but it's leaning towards that you want it to happen, which is Yaakov Abinu saying, I hope he feels me, so I'll get caught, and I don't got to go through this whole masquerade. He's begging to get saved. You don't want the heter. They're bringing in the chicken. I hope the thing falls on the floor so I don't have to eat it. I don't want to eat it. But you're allowed to eat it. I hope I get around it. Which means he's not relishing in it. It's like, oh, beauty, I could lie now. He's salivating. Finally I could lie. He's interested in lying. Ben Ish Hai writes, he tells his mother, how am I going to go into my father? Maybe he's going to feel me and I'm not going to be hairy. V'hayiti be'enav kimta'ateya. Ben Ish Hai says the word kimta'ateya means I'm going to shake. I can't pull this off. I'm going to be too nervous. Yaakov wasn't a seasoned liar. I mean, there are seasoned liars. They're seasoned con artists where they could talk with a straight face. They're believable, they're calm, they're smooth, they're cunning. No, they're not a lie. They're doing it for so many years. They get nervous when they tell the truth. And here Yaakov Abinu is coming and saying, Ma, I know I have a heter, I know it's legal, but I'm not going to pull it off, which means I'm going to shake. I'm going to be shaking. I'm going to be walking in there like a leaf. And you know what he was worried about, says the Ben Ish Hai? The skins are going to fall off of me. From the excessive shaking, from the nervousness, the skin's going to fall off, he's going to feel me, and I'm going to be halak. How old was Yaakov when this is happening, by the way? He's 63 years old at this story. Not a baby. But the Pasuk writes, Vatikach Rivka et bigdei Esav bena gadol hamudot v'talbesh et Yaakov bena hakatan. She dresses him. 63 years old, the mother dresses. It's Hadush. The explanation is Yaakov's mature man. Ma, you want me to put? I can't put this on. You already. You want me to go in? You put it on me. But she dresses him, which means he went in, he did it, but he did not enjoy it. As a matter of fact, when he goes in, he doesn't change his voice. He's talking like Yaakov, the religious man, and Yitzhak is a little confused. Oh, did I call Yaakov? So one thing is for certain, he's not a good liar, Yaakov. You're going in to trick your father, Yaakov, Aleph Bet, change your voice. You're going to give it away. Don't mention Hashem's name every other word. You know Esav doesn't talk like that, which means you're not contributing to the case. On the contrary, you're working against yourself. And the Mefarshim say exactly, which means Yaakov is only going to listen to what his mother told him. She didn't say to change his voice. It's going to jeopardize us. I'm allowed to lie. I'm going to do it the minimum I can do. And the rest is up to Hashem. She didn't tell me not to mention God's name. So you see, even when he had the legality to lie, he was careful. Anochi Esav bechorecha. I am Esav, your firstborn. So that she comes along and says, Anochi, comma, I am I, and Esav is your firstborn. So he wasn't lying. Come on. That's we're going to do that now. Somebody comes along and says, you're in a court of law. Did you pay this guy $1,000? And you come along and say, I paid him. Then you come along and so I wasn't lying. It was a question mark. I paid him. You didn't see the question mark when you're talking. You didn't see the question mark. So what is this business over here? So, Anochi, I am I sat bechorecha. Well, is that what Yitzhak felt? Well, did Yitzhak hear that comma? The explanation is like this. Yaakov doesn't have to even play around with the words. He's allowed to lie. This is one of the cases where you're allowed to lie. But still, even when he had a heter, he said it in a way where it can still have a semblance to the truth. He was a stickler. That's the Hiddush. Which means he was able to just go along and say, Esav, 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 Esav. Instead he says, Anuchi, Esav, Begorecha, although it's really not the truth, but he said it in a way where you could put a comma in it. Even when he's allowed to lie, he's doing it in the least evasive possible way. Lo ragal al lishono ze Yaakov. That's the titen emet Yaakov. If you ask me, Rabbi, give me the episode where you see the titen emet Yaakov, it's this episode. So here you see it. When you're allowed to lie and you're not salivating and you're not enjoying it, it says he walked in, kafuf, bocher, kimtateya, shaking like a leaf. There's no question, which is, if Yaakov Abinu was going to try to get on an El Al flight to Israel, security's not going to let him on. He's shaking, he's nervous, you see it on his face. When he's answering the questions, you can tell he's lying. He wasn't enjoying it. But what? That's the emet of Yaakov. Good. But we didn't answer the original, or one of the original questions, which now takes us into a different phase. I don't like to get into this phase because it's really beyond the scope of our understanding, but just to give you a little flavor of what's out there. Why didn't Yitzhak Abinu get the prophecy? Rivka have to get the prophecy, hold it in a secret for 63 years, give it over to Yaakov, go in and trick. Something's going on over here. Something is deeper than meets the eye. So let me explain to you the theory that is proposed by the Zohar HaKadosh, as developed by Rabbeinu Yaakov Abu Haseda in his Perush to the Torah and Mahsop HaLavan. The Zohar says a cryptic statement. Shufre de Adam Arishon Yaakov Abinu. The beauty of Adam Arishon manifested itself through Yaakov Abinu. In layman terms, Yaakov Abinu was the tikkun of Adam Arishon. As a matter of fact, Avotenu HaKedoshim, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, all of them were involved in fixing what happened thousands of years before in Gan Eden when Adam and Chava ate from the tree. That sin, which was the quintessential sin of all time, needed to be rectified. Tikkun. And it says Abraham fixed a portion of it, and Yitzhak came and made a tikkun for another portion of it, and Yaakov also was involved in the tikkun of Adam Arishon. As a matter of fact, we know that Adam Arishon, after the sin, lived a life of self-deprivation for 130 years. It says he refrained from his wife for 130 years. He punished himself with twigs, with all sorts of sigufim. He fasted for 130 years. This was a tikkun for his sin. Isn't it interesting? There's one other time in the Torah where you see the mention of 130 years. When Yaakov Abinu was telling Paro, when Paro says, "How old are you?" So he says, Yemeh shene megorai sheloshim um'at shana. I'm 130 years. Me'at vera'im hayu yemeh shene hayai. He comes along and says, these years over here were bitter and difficult. Yaakov Abinu is saying the 130 years he's talking about, not only in his present Gilgul, but the 130 years that I went through to mitaken the sin when I committed, when I ate from the tree. He writes, and I'm quoting Rabbeinu Yaakov, Ramaz lo bazeh de 130 shana ele hayu ra'im betzar. אך הם לתקן 130 שנה שפגם בהם האדם הראשון. The 130 years were to fix those 130 of Adam. It seems even during the time of 130 of Adam, it needed a tikkun, and he came and fixed it. So there's a connection between Yaakov and Adam Arishon. That's clear. The Zohar goes further and says, the Imahot, they came to fix the sin of Havva. 2 weeks ago we learned that Sarah was actually the Gilgul of Havva. Havva was called Havva because she is called Em Kol Hai. She's the mother of all creation. So somebody asked a good question. If she's the Em Kol Hai, her name should be Haya. Why is she Havva? Where's the Vav come from? So they say that the word Havva with the Vav comes from the Aramaic word Hivya, which is a snake, because she got poisoned by the snake. The snake, the primordial snake in Gan Eden, came and seduced Havva. Hence she had the Zohama of the snake in her, therefore she's called Havva. Sarah fixed that. If you remember when the angels came along and said after 90 years of Sarah working on herself, what did they tell her? Ka'et Haya ul Sarah ben. Now you fixed Havva. It's back to Haya. You made the tikkun. It's Ka'et Haya. So Sarah was mitaken Havva. But again, the tikkun doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Rivka was the